Lowdown Mortgage Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone who did not take the traditional path into the mortgage business and has learned some hard lessons along the way by being in the middle of the action early on. They bring a mix of sales experience and leadership perspective and personal discipline that shows up in how they run their business today. Shawn Allen, I want to welcome you to the Lowdown.
Thanks, Connor. Thanks, Connor. Yeah. I greatly appreciate you having me on today. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Absolutely, man. Enjoyed getting to know you and having some conversation with you, kind of leading up to this. For those that are listening, Shawn's an avid Dallas Cowboys fan, so am I. So we've had a lot to talk about. So it's been great, having some back and forth on that too. But just to dive into things, man, like you got into this business from auto finance. That's actually a career that I've seen a lot of people sort of enter into the mortgage space from, which I think is a really cool coincidence. But that means, like a lot of people, you come in without this perfectly mapped out plan. You got to figure out a lot on your own in this business. It's really a sink or swim situation for a lot of folks. But what were those early years like for you, and how did they shape how you operate today?
Yeah, Connor. So I can remember my very first day once I got into the mortgage business. I decided it's something I wanted to do. I got into the business, and I can remember walking into the office the very first day. My sales manager, he's there. He greets me. He welcomes me to the team. And then he walks into his office and he was like, if you need anything, just let me know. And so it was at that point in time I knew that I could be in trouble. So as you stated, I didn't come into the mortgage world with a clean roadmap. I had to learn in real time and live deals with, real consequences. So in the early stages, some of the files were messy, my timelines were tight, and mistakes actually mattered. The pressure taught me early that, the effort that you put out alone doesn't necessarily save you. It's structure that does. So that's probably shaped how I run my business more today than anything else.
Yeah, and so, but your background before was in another, vertical entirely, similar, job with the finance side of things. But how did that background and what you brought, from past experiences kind of lead you made decisions and how you built up that structure?
Yeah, for me, so in the car business, one thing that was really good for me is that I learned that early on that I'm not a salesperson. What I am and what I do, I'm in the people business. So, I get paid commissions, but literally I am in the people business. And so those early years taught me that as long as I put the needs of others in front of mine, if I truly do my job and do a needs analysis and I truly try to figure out what I can do to help them, that, the income would always be there. So early on, what I learned is that, it's less about me and more about them. And as long as I keep that focus, everything will be fine.
Yeah. I mean, did you have those long nights at the dealership, like 10 o'clock across the table from someone just being like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna buy the car or not?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I was joking in that business. I was like, I put a key in the door in the morning and I put a key in the door in the evening. So, it made for some long nights, some long days.
Yeah, I remember that my dad did that for a while. He got laid off from a job in insurance and then went to selling cars. And I just remember he'd be gone first thing in the morning and he didn't come home until late at night. So I feel you. Now, you've talked about the importance of having a routine and structure. What does a good workday look like for you now, and why?
Yeah, so like I don't really rely on motivation. I feel like motivation sometimes can be unreliable. Structure shows up every day. So when your routine is dialed in, you don't wake up deciding what matters. It's already decided for you. So like a work day for me, it's about structure. It's about consistency. So like on Mondays, I have a certain set of calls that I make every Monday, and I'm consistent in that, doing it every Monday morning. On Tuesday, I'm making another set of calls, those same calls every Tuesday, and I'm consistent about that. On Wednesday, it's the same thing. And so my day is very structured. I have this saying, I try to win the day by noon. And so I'm trying to get as much as I can get done before noon. So that way it allows me to have the other things that come at you, because what I feel like is that we get to the point where we're just doing the work, and we're not prospecting, we're not building our business, we're not growing our business. So for me, my days are extremely structured, and everything is kind of sort of mapped out and timed out for me.
Yeah, can you get a little more specific on that? Like what is winning by noon? What are the things that you're trying to accomplish in the morning that sets up a better afternoon and a better day for you?
Yeah, so like I'm doing the things that matter the most. Like on Mondays, for example, I'm making phone calls to real estate agents and figuring out and asking them, how was their weekend? Is there anything that happened over the weekend that I can help you with? I'm setting up, hey, I would love to get lunch with you this week. So I'm looking at it not necessarily about today, I'm looking at it as in steps to get through the week. And I'm trying to get those most important things, those A items. So you have things that are on your calendar, you have a list of things on you need to get done, but I categorize them into like 1A, 1B, 1C. And so I'm trying to get all of my 1A things done before noon, because that's how I win the day. Because if you don't, if you become scattered and you start reading your email first thing in the morning and then you're working on someone else's agenda, then when that happens, when I'm looking at working on somebody else's agenda, I lose the day, because all I've done is all these other items and I didn't get the work done that I needed to get done.
Yeah, and before I ask my next question, I want to call something out real quick because it was a small thing, but it was really important. You mentioned that you're calling the agents and saying, how was your weekend? Is there anything that happened this weekend that I can help you with? And I think that was the real key there. Was it wasn't just a let's talk about the weekend call, but it was in your business, what happened this weekend that I can be of value to? And I think that's a really big differentiator because I know some loan officers that might be newer to this business and trying to figure things out, they might just be calling to say, what'd you do this weekend? How was your weekend? Is very generic. And,
Yeah.
we're in a fast paced moving business. People need people to help them out. And there's, so bringing value, I think, was a big call out that I just wanted to highlight because I thought that was really important what you said there. So now moving on, like as you've grown, how has your approach to managing deals and the priorities changed from doing everything yourself to now being more intentional and kind of picking out what needs your highest and best attention?
Yeah, so for me, it was difficult because, as I stated, like there was no roadmap for me when I came into this business. And so I built my business, counting on me and doing everything myself. And then what I found out is that it wasn't scalable. And so I had to take a hands off approach on some things, like we wear many hats every day. Like, I have my loan officer hat on, I have the CEO hat on, I have my marketing hat on, I have my customer relations hat on. And so what I found is that it's better for me to let some of those things go, because there's things that I love to do and I am great at doing in this job, and there's things that don't bring me the same passion, but they're equally as important. And so what I found is that it made things run a lot smoother if I allowed other people into my systems and processes, and I built things around a team instead of it being everything about me.
Yeah, and so what are the systems that require the most heavy lifting behind the scenes? Like when things are running well, what needs the most attention?
When things are running well, what needs the most attention is actually, it's still the same, it's structure. And so I can't harp on that enough, because if your structure is set up, your systems and processes are in place, then things will run smooth. And so with the heavy lifting, it's when you get outside of that structure is when you have issues.
Yeah, and so when you've got a fine-tuned like structure that's working well, it doesn't take long before you realize if there's like a grain of sand in it, right? And it's starting to kind of make things back up a little bit. Like, what's a bottleneck that you've run into that has forced you to kind of rethink that structure or to build things the way that you have?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that the whole thing about wearing multiple hats and taking on all these responsibilities. So I've definitely run into bottlenecks, and what I found is that I'm the bottleneck. It's me not taking my hands off, because, as I stated earlier, what ends up happening is you get so worked up and involved in doing the work, that you're not out prospecting. You're just caught up in those moments, and the next thing you know, you have these peaks and you have these valleys because you spent all your time just doing the work. And so what I found is that I'm the bottleneck, and as long as I can maintain the focus on the structure and the systems and processes, that it helps with the bottlenecks that show up from time to time.
Yeah, man. And like that comes up over and over again with guests on the lowdown. They reach this point where they realize they're going to have to let go of something. They're going to have to do something different, but they've built it all from scratch. It's always just been them doing everything, and that letting go is something that they really struggle with. And so you're definitely not alone on that. I promise you that much. It's something we hear all the time on the podcast. But you've mentioned just kind of in our conversations that growth created more pressure than freedom. And I think we're kind of on that topic right now. So, like, what did that teach you about how to scale the right way? Like, is that is that where you kind of came to that realization of I got to let some things go?
100%. So, what I learned is that growth doesn't fix problems, it exposes them. So, if your systems are weak, more volume just makes the stress louder. So, the freedom everyone talks about only shows up after you build the infrastructure to support it. Once you have the right systems and processes, the right people in place, that's when you can gain that true freedom.
Yeah. And was there a turning point for you on that? Like something that happened along the way where you went, oh, kind of that OS moment of like, I got to fix this. Like what if there was, what was that for you? What was that turning point that was like that realization moment?
Yeah, I'm going to tell a real quick story. Well, for me, as I was coming up in the business and I was starting to have more and more success and I was starting to have more and more growth, and I didn't have, I thought I had the proper systems and processes in place, but it was just me. And so I can remember a file that I had, and everything was going great. It's a great file. But then I had a lot going on at the time. I was having one of the best months I've had in my career, and I missed sending out the CD on time. And we missed their closing because of an action of me. And so it was in that moment, and I just felt horrible. I felt like such a failure in that moment because I had been doing so well and I thought so highly of myself as a loan officer. And then because of me, these people, they had moving trucks set up, they had all kinds of stuff set up to move on that day. And because of my actions, because I had too much going on, I missed a critical point for them. And so it was in that moment that I knew that I needed to figure out, how do I prevent me from being the bottleneck? How do I have systems and processes that are scalable, and that we have multiple fail safes where you can catch things like that.
Yeah. Man, that's such a like relatable story. And I love that you bring it back to the homeowner and the impact on them. And I mean, it just, to me, it just tells me how important your community is to you
Mhm.
and helping others and being mindful of that. But that's a great, lesson learned. But you took accountability. Like at the end of the day, that's what I hear is that there was a mistake that happened, you owned it, and you said, okay, changes need to be made. And so I don't ever make this mistake again because you never want to like eat that dinner again, right? Like,
Yeah,
like
no.
we don't want that
Yeah.
to happen.
No, because it cost me personally and monetarily, because I felt so bad. Like I paid for storage, I paid for their rental, their moving truck. So like, it essentially, I did the deal for free,
Yeah.
because I felt so bad. And I'm not in this business to not make any money. So I knew that I needed to have better systems and processes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we kind of look towards the future, change is constant. Things are always happening around us, and you can't change. It's just going to happen. But what are you focused on right now to stay sharp for just the future? Or what are some skills that you might be brushing up on, or really, looking more into so that you're always one step or two steps ahead of the game.
Yeah, I'm always trying to, perfect my craft. I'm always looking at how to be better. So in today, I'm really trying to leverage technology. I'm really trying to leverage, AI and things of that nature. But more importantly than any of that, it's about building a team. It's about me bringing in other people. And so like for me, like my word of the year is inspirational. And so the reason why I chose that word is that I want to inspire others, through my work. I want to inspire other people to look and be like, because this business, I love this business, but like I stumbled on this business and I feel like there's not enough people out there that know what a great business this is, that how you can help people and you can feel good about the work you do. And so I want to inspire other people through what I do to see that, hey, I want to think about doing that. I want to inspire others that are already within my team to see the work that I put out to be like, yes, I want to be the best version of myself doing this. So for me, it's about building out the team this year, leveraging the technology that's already there to help me become the best version of myself.
What technology are you looking at? Is there anything new, or are there tools that you've been using that have been particularly helpful? And whether it's just working with your referral partners or clients, or just building out structure within your team.
Yeah, so some of the tools that I've used is that with my current company we have really great technology when it comes to our LOS and our CRM systems, and everything is all built in together. But I am starting to leverage AI a lot more, starting to dig deeper into what are some things that I can do, some of the mundane tasks that I do day to day, how can I make those automatic, where I let other systems work for me so it frees up some of my time to do other higher level things.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'll show you something after we finish recording this that someone was nice enough to show me this week, and it might be a game changer we'll see. But I hear what you're saying, like using AI and in the right ways to enhance the experience, I think is going to be a key skill for loan officers moving forward, because the expectation will evolve to that, right? The more loan officers start to lean into these tools that are available, the more buyers are going to start expecting that they will. And if you don't, then the question is, well, why not?
Yeah.
And I think the agents will expect it too. So I think that's a great call out, something everyone should really be focused on. I guess just for since your experience was you came in without a lot of structure. I mean, the boss like said, go for it and lock the door behind him, right?
Yeah.
what what advice would you give a loan officer that's getting started on how to just examine how to grow, and what are the first steps they need to take?
Yeah, so when you're first starting out, of course the basics, you want to get the basics down about, how do you operate from day to day? What does what's the why behind being a loan officer? How do you help people? But the main thing is that once you're into it, like, don't add more tactics. That's a trap. Like, audit your time, your processes, your decision making first. You can feel overwhelmed, but growth is not your next move. It's more about clarity. It's about, how do I operate from day to day? How do I have systems and processes in place that are scalable, like I said, and that are things that are going to keep me on the straight and narrow and not allow me to get off path? Because like we talked about earlier, there's lots of peaks and valleys in this business, and so that is the biggest career killer right there, is you have these extreme highs and these extreme lows. And if you can just figure out how to somehow, you still want to have some highs, but like, you just want to be consistently doing business every single month. And I think the true champions in this business, what you'll see is that they are more consistent than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, they smash the mundane, as I had heard John Bonosian say once up from stage. So yeah, it's you got to get comfortable with being boring. And there's a lot of shiny objects out there. There's a lot of people that want to sell you something, and but until you master the basics, it's really hard to get into those other higher level things. Are there any resources or people that you read or study that you would recommend others look into? Because I mean, you're all about structure. So I'm just curious if there's a particular coach or author or something that has influenced that for you.
Yeah, so I do listen to quite a few different podcasts. One of the ones that I just connect with is the Mortgage Marketing Animals. I love that podcast. But here at my current company, we actually have coaching, and we have some of the best coaches in the world. That's something that they offer us. And I think even for people out there, if you're looking for different companies or whatever, you want to find a company that pours into you. And so I'm fortunate enough that I work for a company that pours into me. So I have personal coaching. I have like an accountability coach that, because it's good to say, here's what I'm going to do. Here are my systems and processes. But like sometimes you need someone to hold you accountable, because that is a part of my system and processes, that I have that personal coach there.
Yeah, what a great call out, man. Like you're so right. This is a partnership at the end of the day, or it should be. There's a lot of isolation out there, especially, I mean, I can see you're in an office, but there's a lot of people that are working from home and they have been for the last 5 years. And some of that like office culture is what used to be the accountability for a lot of folks. And the ability to learn from, the veteran in the office is not really there for everyone now. And so there's a lot of like trying to figure it out on your own. And so if you have a company that will set that accountability up for you, create that coaching environment, really pour into you, I think that's super important, man. I'm glad you found it. I think that's a game changer for a lot of people, and so I appreciate you, bringing that up because I think it's really smart. Well, Shawn, I mean, it's been great talking with you. I don't know, was there a question I didn't ask or anything that you just want to share before we, wrap things up here today?
No, I don't think so. I just wanted to, I guess I wanted to drive home the point that, I greatly appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come down and sit down and have this conversation with you. But I can't stress enough that it's less about tactics and it's more about structure. And you mentioned it about smashing the mundane. It's about doing the little things each and every single day. And I can't drive that point home enough. For me, it was a game changer in my career once I learned that, my systems and processes are what's going to drive my business. It's not me. It's not how well I know the guides. It's not how well I structure a loan. All those things matter. But what was more importantly, it was the little things that I do day in and day out. I like to focus on doing things when you look at it over like a 12-week, instead of looking at what I'm going to do this week. I try to guide my career, my life. I'm looking at it at 12 weeks. So what I'm doing today is for a goal that's 12 weeks down the road, and I'm chipping away at it each and every single day. And I think that keeps me grounded and it keeps me driven. And so I can't stress enough. Hone in on your systems and processes, and that's going to guide your career.
Yeah, man. Love that. Well, Shawn, thanks for being on the lowdown and sharing everything. It was really great to kind of hear your perspective on the business and the wisdom that you've attained over time. And I just wish nothing but the best for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet.